So almost two-thirds of South African municipalities responsible for supplying drinking water to residents are either failing to provide water that meets the minimum drinking standards or simply are failing to test the water they supply. For more on this, we are joined by the Department of Water and Sanitation spokesperson, Sputnik Ratau, on the safety of drinking water in South Africa. Thank you very much, sir, for availing yourself this afternoon. So according to a report from Ground Up, piped water in two-thirds of South Africa's municipalities does not meet the minimum standards.
Thank you very much for the time to do, and good afternoon. I think that report by Ground Up is a bit too, it's gone ahead of its time. Basically, because the data that they are using is still data that we are collecting in order for us to be able to make the assessments and do the finalization of the Blue Drop report, which we are going to be issuing in March of 2023. You remember that in March of 2022, actually issued the report on the Green Drop. So what we also indicated then is that we are going to stagger the reports between the Blue Drop and the Green Drop to alternate in the years. So that is information that we are still collating, that we are still collecting from the municipalities, and it's not a final report. So it is still work in progress. But what we've also agreed to do is to make it available to the public so that, on an ongoing basis, everyone that is interested can be able to see what the status is in the municipalities that serve them. But obviously, because it is ongoing and the reports are also being sent through on an ongoing basis, those issues we will definitely be able to change over time.
Mr. Ratau, when you say that the report is ahead of its time, what does that mean? Because Ground Up used as a source information from the Department of Water and Sanitation. For instance, the South African population affected by drinking water quality, and they've got 4 measures. They say excellent, good, poor and bad, and this is according to the Department of Water and Sanitation. And the date is October 11, 2022, where 32.6% of the population, translating to 18.5 million people, are affected by bad water. Are you suggesting that the information that you have provided, that they have cited here, is incorrect?
I'm saying that is information that is still work in progress. That is not the finite information, and that is information that is coming in as is expected, as we have agreed with municipalities, but it is information that will be influenced with certain processes that will be ongoing between now and March of 2023, when we issue the final report. So this is a part of the process that we have agreed with the municipalities, that on an ongoing basis they will be able, they should give us reports of what is happening at the moment. Why do we have to do that? It is so that we can be able to also see ahead of time what it is that is happening and look at what it is that we might need to intervene on, as it were. Remember that is part of what we have put together as what we call the Water Services Improvement Program, that we realized is a necessity within the department to be able to identify these issues and intervene in time. So I am saying this is still fresh information that still is work in progress, that still will be influenced by the interventions that are coming in, by the improvements that municipalities themselves will be able to do over time. Remember that even as there are issues that are challenges at any point, but the issue of improvement is an ongoing basis.
Fair enough. However, the information itself is accurate that there's 18.5 million people who are affected by bad water in South Africa. So when you speak of interventions, what are those interventions?
In terms of the interventions that we look at, obviously, we look at what are the issues that are impacting on either substandard, poor, or even bad performance. It could be the issue of availability of capacity. What capacity are we talking about? It could be capacity in terms of unavailable infrastructure in the first place. Secondly, it could be a capacity that speaks to operations and maintenance. It could be a capacity that speaks to the ability to actually spend money that is availed for the work that municipalities are supposed to do and should be doing. But as a regulator as well, we have an interest in assisting those municipalities with the capacity, even from the department itself, to bring in, those kinds of skills that might be required in order to make the work of municipalities and the sector as such much better on an ongoing basis.
So the report also notes that of the 144 municipalities that do treat and supply water, 94 were failing as of 11 October, which is information that Ground Up obtained from the Department of Water and Sanitation. So when you speak of capacity, you mentioned the word skill. Are we saying that municipalities are currently failing because they do not have the necessary skilled persons to actually ensure that South Africans have safe drinking water?
In our interactions with provinces and the municipalities, especially in this regard, the water services authorities, we have realized that the issue of skills, the issue of capacity are some of the things that are actually a hindrance to the performances of municipalities. And therefore, yes, it is correct that some of the municipalities do not and may not be able to attract the necessary skills and so on. But that is why when I talk about some of the interventions that we are looking at, it is what also influence the thinking about the partnerships that we are forming with private sector. We are looking at the review of the water boards to be able to look at the whole value chain of water and sanitation services, to say how far can the water boards go. How far can we be able, within the mandate of those entities, be able to say this is where you might need to go and assist in particular areas? Obviously, as we have also recognized that we can be able to lean on and be able to really work together with the private sector in partnership, which we are fostering through the partnership office that has been established between the department and the Development Bank of Southern Africa. That we are looking at how we can also ensure that we manage those partnerships in a manner that will be best suited for the country and the population.
How much is this costing not only the department but South Africans? One would be forgiven for thinking that or for drawing a conclusion that this is costing South Africans in a sense of when you open your tap, you do not have safe drinking water. That's if you do have a tap and water. In another instance, Ground Up is also reporting that the department was taken to court in 2019, a case in the Northwest. And so these cases that end up in the courts as well. This is just one example. How much is it really costing us?
It will be difficult for me to say, to remember that those are matters that can only be determined once a case has been concluded. But also, remember that in a lot of cases, we are cited as co-respondents, not necessarily as the actual respondent, because you would find that it is a matter that, because it is a water services issue at the local level, when the municipality is taken to court, then because we are the custodian at national level, then we get cited as a co-respondent. So it is not necessarily that we are basically taken to court as the initial respondent, because at reticulation level, we know that kind of mandate is within the local government sphere. But we cannot ignore the fact that if the local government is not able to really come to the party, then we do have a responsibility, and we believe that in order to go the full cycle of water services, we cannot ignore those areas where we might need to intervene.
It is also noted that the shortage of water in Johannesburg is due to infrastructure and planning failures, which are obviously exacerbated by load shedding. Just maybe finally for us, Mr. Ratau, is the department fulfilling its mandate of supplying a basic human right at the most top tier level? What confidence should South Africans have in the department's ability to supply a basic need?
You must remember that as a department as such, okay, if I'm to take it to its basic areas as per the constitutional mandate, the responsibility that we have is around the availability of bulk services, which we do very well. Then we have the treatment cycle and so on, which we do through our water boards and so on, which, by the way, the quality of treated water in South Africa still is of well standard. But obviously, where we find the biggest challenge is where we then have the reticulation services that take the water to the tap of Duduramila. And that is where a lot of the failures are at, and that is what I am referring to when I say the issues of capacity, the issues of skills and so on. In the main, you would find in that space. And that is why also, in recognition of that very issue, the department, the ministry, and the sector, we have made a decision to say we cannot just fold our arms and say we have provided the bulk, we have provided the treated water, anything else that happens thereafter we will not be interested in. And that is why the matter of interventions and how we intervene as per, by the way, the legislation as well that allows us to be able to intervene in collaboration and in partnership with the municipality where we have to intervene, then comes in. Because it is in our interest to ensure that when we say water services, and that is why we also have in the department the Deputy Director General that is responsible for water services support in order to be able to take care of that very issue.
Thank you very much, sir, for availing yourself this afternoon. Sputnik Ratau speaks for the Department of Water and Sanitation.